On the morning of New Year's Eve, I came across a little one-panel cartoon that depicts two little humanoid creatures atop raised yellow numerals making up 2018. One is standing arms folded with a trace of a scowl on his face. He's looking down on the other one, who has gardening tools, and is leaning from the 2 over to the 0 of the 20 in 2018. The other little guy has a box of seeds on his left and a watering can on his right, and he's smiling and digging away. The grumpy one asks the cheerful one, "Why are you so optimistic about 2018? What do you think it will bring? Everything seems so messed up." You can see that Mr. Smiley, deeply engrossed in his work, responds, "I think it's going to bring flowers." "Yeah," Grumpy Pants says, "how come?" Without missing a beat, our cheerful little gardener comes back, "Because I am planting flowers." I thought I might get a laugh out of that. That little cartoon spoke to me of hope as much as any beautiful passage of Scripture might. As we sit here on the cusp of a new year with the first week already under our belts, temptation at least some of us might face is to cross our arms and bewail how messed up everything seems to be, whether it be on a personal, a national, or a global stage. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a place for lamenting the troubles of life, at least for a time. Those challenges and difficulties that we face are real, and they range from the aches and pains and losses of being human and growing older to the concerns that come with being the parent of a child of any age, whatever age that child happens to be, from infancy to young adulthood and beyond. You never outgrow being a parent. I wish somebody had told me that. Then there's the responsibility of caring for aging or ill parents or spouses or friends or siblings that some of you are taking on. You face work issues and home issues and relationship issues and transition issues and health issues, just to name a few issues. And add to that any concern that you or I might have about the state of the nation or the world. And there has never been a time in the history of time, by the way, when those things weren't a concern to some degree or another for people. Never in the history of time has there been a time when there has not been concern about the state of the nation and the world. Did you get that? So we might indeed find ourselves with Mr. Grumpy, skeptical about 2018 and its prospects. But moving through life day after day with arms crossed is really no way to live. There's another choice available to us, however, a choice that we can learn from the gardener who expected flowers because he planted and watered flowers. There is a parable in the dogged determination to set an intention and to engage in specific practices that lead to its realization, knowing that not every seed he plants and waters will necessarily bloom, but nevertheless doing the work in hopes that at least some seeds, some flowers will bloom. Most of the time, results don't come simply because we wish for them. They happen because we do the work to make results happen. And then just like planting and watering and fertilizing flowers, we leave the rest to God. Sometimes we forget that. I love the story of the man who kept praying to God to win the lottery. Week after week after week, he prayed and he prayed and he prayed to win the lottery. And then finally, after one of his fervent prayers, God reached down to him to have a special private conversation. God said, "Do me a favor, at least buy a ticket." We have to plant and water and fertilize the flowers, but then we leave the rest to God. Apostle Paul, who elsewhere spoke of how he planted and Apollos watered, but God gave the growth, knew at least a little something about the phenomenon of doing the work and leaving the results up to God. Today's epistle lesson, Paul, writing from prison, so many of his letters were written from prison, right? Speaks of the plan of the mystery hidden for ages in God. That is the good news that through the church, the wisdom of God and its diversity might be made known. Paul speaks of that plan, that mystery being made known, the hope that Jews and Gentiles, outsiders and insiders, would become fellow heirs, reconciled members of one body in Christ. Paul talks about how God's plan is for this to happen. But even as he does so, the apostle refers to his role and the role of the church in making it happen. His role and the role of the church in making it come about. He was given a commission of God's grace, he writes. He was assigned a task and a role. You could put it this way. He was given seeds and a gardening shovel and a watering can and told to get to work. I'll be with you. Paul asserts that his commission was in the service of an ultimate plan. It's Paul's contention and the assertion of the biblical witness that there are grand God-ordained intentions for the moral arc of the universe. That arc, as the 19th century abolitionist Theodore Parker insisted and Martin Luther King Jr. reiterated, is long, but it bends towards justice. And beyond that, I would add, it bends towards wholeness and healing and reconciliation and new life. But here's the rub. We have a part to play in that bending. The part we have to play in the bending is summed up nicely in what the African-American theologian Howard Thurman called the work of Christmas. He wrote in words that were on our bulletin cover last week, when the song of the angels is still, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to make peace among the people, to make music in the heart. That work doesn't get done by us crossing our arms and saying, "Oh, ain't it awful?" It happens through baptized folks like you and me getting on our knees, whistling while we work, even if it's the blues, and taking our gardening tools in hand to dig the holes and plant the seeds that will become flowers. Not every seed we plant will grow and bloom, but it's been my experience that some will. I've seen flowering in my own life and in this church and in the larger world through seeds that you have planted, you around this circle. Seeds like words of encouragement to a fellow Emmanuelite or to a pastor. Seeds like the expression of gratitude to a friend or neighbor who helped you. Seeds like the smile given to a stranger. Seeds like the visit made, the card sent, the prayer lifted, the making of a meal, the driving of a van, the giving of time. The effort to really understand what it's like to be an immigrant or homeless or a person of color or transgender, and then to do some service or advocacy on their behalf. Seems like honest and vulnerable conversations with someone with whom you may not always agree, but the conversation is based in love and respect. Seeds like time set aside for study or meditation or small group or a 12-step meeting. All of these things are seeds planted, and some of them bloom. They have bloomed in beauty and joy, hope and love and growth. And that's not going to stop in 2018. Tonight we begin our annual confirmation program in earnest by giving our young people Bibles and commissioning their faith mentors. And you could say that the whole process is to some degree about the kids and the mentors and the staff and the entire congregation digging and planting holes and planting seeds that we hope will flower, if not in 2018, then somewhere down the road. But it's not just about planting seeds. It's about setting intentions. That's why I like that we launched this process right after Christmas, right after the new year. in that sweet spot around Epiphany and the baptism of the Lord. Because what we're asking of the confirmands and their mentors is not just to plant seeds, but to set their sights on something as they begin a journey. Like the wise ones who followed a star to the place where the child Jesus was. Like John the Baptizer who came to prepare the way for Jesus. The goal in front of us determines the direction we head and the sorts of seeds that we strive to plant, so we set intentions. For the last 4 or 5 years, I've invited you to join me in the choosing of an Epiphany star word for the year. In some churches, like my wife's Judas church, people come up and draw a pre-written one, and they get what they get, kind of like children on a playground getting passed out popsicles. We may try that next year, we'll see. But here we let you pray over your star and decide for yourself what your word will be. But we ask you, when you do so, to choose a word that will lead you deeper in faith, nearer to God, closer to God's embodied love being lived out in you and me. If you get stumped in this work and you need some help, I've got a series of words that I can randomize and pick for you. Seriously, pick a word. Try it if you haven't before. Over the last 4 years, the words that I have chosen have been the following. I've chosen present, enlightenment, joy, and this past year, courage. It's my practice to tape the star, and I duplicate it several times to my car dashboard, to my bathroom mirror, to my computer monitor, and to the threshold of my home and my office. It's a way of keeping me focused. As I said, this past year, my word was courage. I thought it was going to find expression in me taking brave stands for what I believe in, and I suppose to some extent maybe it did. But it worked on a different level. I saw it played out in the words of the Serenity Prayer, which asked for the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I began this past year to have the courage to change the only thing I really have the ability to change, and that is my own actions and attitudes. I began to see that while I can use my influence, and it's important to use my influence, I cannot really control world affairs or the national political scene or anyone else's behavior. I can't make people see my way. But I can love them just the same. What I can control, what I can change, is the way I think and behave. And it takes courage to do that. I lived with that word all year. It was with me when Katie brought the idea that John Shell had originally planned, by the way, of doing a hypothermia shelter at Emmanuel during the week before Christmas. And the session began to embrace it at our June retreat. Held on to my courage star, knowing that this project was something new and different, and it might have its challenges, and they might be significant. But it could wind up being a tremendous blessing for our congregation and the people we were serving. And then I watched as Katie and Dana Pratt and Sue Henry and Lee Rainey and Flynn Busey, who were all part of the session planning team, set to work digging holes and planting seeds. And I saw a week before Christmas what bloomed. And it bloomed in this holy space. And you know what? It wasn't perfect. But it was beautiful. What we did was based in the sense that there's a larger purpose at work in the world than just what feels comfortable to you and me. It was based in the trust that God is working God's purpose out as year succeeds to year, and that we, like Paul, are called to get our gardening tools together. We're called to plant the flowers that will bloom in 2018 and beyond. Called to do it in Jesus'